Hi, my name's Phil and welcome to LabourVision, where we discuss Labour policies. And in this video, as we reflect on another stunning set of results at the local elections for Labour, I'm going to discuss a policy which is now going to be much easier to implement as a direct result of the success this weekend: devolution. Keir Starmer seems to have a particular interest in devolving decision making to the regions of the country. Why get people in London to decide on transport projects in the northeast of England? Makes no sense. Starmer is not a career politician. He's not been indoctrinated. He has spoken numerous times about how he doesn't like the combative nature of politics in Westminster. He is very motivated to have as much of the decision making taken away as possible. And I personally am a huge supporter of devolution. I would like a properly federalised UK. It's actually quite funny because the Tories and I agree on one thing. We both want smaller government. Only when the Tories talk about smaller government, what they actually mean is the private sector picks up the slack, whereas I want this federalised system of local government doing so. But devolution is a double-edged sword. The benefit is that local projects are decided by local government based on their strengths and needs, who are answerable to the public affected. Brilliant. The downside is you create a blurring of the lines of responsibility. So a local government will take credit for everything good and blame the national government for everything bad. And if people don't really know where the competencies lie, it can descend into childish arguments. However, I think the benefits outweigh the drawbacks, so I want to see it go full steam ahead. It's the only way to power real levelling up, which is a term which I gather Labour are going to drop because it has been contaminated by the stench of Tory failure to deliver. But the concept of levelling up is needed and it requires devolution. The problem with decision making centred in London, it's not just that the people there don't understand how things are working in practice elsewhere. That is part of the problem. But it is also that you get a better financial return if you invest where infrastructure is already good. In other words, around London. But this increases the gap between affluent and less affluent areas, haves and have-nots. We want to close that gap. But Labour have now been given a great boost. There are now 11 Metro mayors, so several new ones were added at the contest on Thursday. Labour won 10 out of the 11 contests at the weekend. Now, that's really important. Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland have their own governments, although we really need to boost, at the very least, Wales to having the same powers as the Scottish Parliament. But in England, the only form of devolution we really have are these Metro mayors. These are the people who are going to need to really drive this real levelling up agenda, whatever it ends up being called. How fortunate then that 10 out of the 11 of them are now Labour mayors and, of course, fully on board. Several have promised, for example, to bring buses into public hands, as Andy Burnham has done for Greater Manchester. Now, moves like this will be much easier with Labour's plans to get decisions made locally. Because part of it, for example, which I'll discuss in a moment, is dealing with transport issues. The government want to say, yeah, we've got a department for transport, but basically you sort out your own transport issues. Had the government won more of these mayoralties, there would have been a great deal more friction in the real levelling up programme. The results this weekend now mean that after the general election, Labour can have a good 3 years at least to all pull in the same direction, maybe with the slight exception of Tees Valley. In terms of what Labour are specifically aiming to empower local authorities to deliver, it will be, this is for England of course, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland will do their own thing. Upgrading all homes to be properly insulated. Improving public transport, big one. Considering the results of the West Midlands mayoral contest, it could just be argued that maybe Rishi Sunak's plan to abolish HS2 was not the genius plan he thought it was. But Sunak did say that he would divert resources into locally decided transport projects. So it's like he was already coming on board with Starmer's idea. Unfortunately, it was absolute rubbish. There's no money at all. And he's claimed, oh, we can do this project and that project when the projects have already been completed. However, there will be money, and Starmer expects local authorities to use it. In fact, where transport is concerned, Starmer also wants a much closer relationship between the devolved national governments on UK-wide transport policies. So local transport policies decided locally, not in Westminster. UK-wide transport policies decided in partnership with the different devolved nations, again, not all in Westminster. The devolution plans for England will, like the national parliaments in Wales and Scotland and Assembly in Northern Ireland, also mean taking economic policy decisions away from Westminster. Local authorities will be empowered to take more of an active role in growing their own economies based on local strengths and needs, which they understand. In fact, there's a general policy of allowing local authorities to petition the Westminster government to request powers that have already been devolved elsewhere to be devolved to them as well. And there'll be a legal duty for the government, if it decides, no, we don't think you should have those powers devolved, to say what conditions they will have to meet in order to do so. So imagine, I mean, the Scottish Parliament's the best example because that is the most devolved authority in the UK. So let us say the new mayor of the West Midlands around Birmingham says, oh, well, the Scottish Parliament have had these powers devolved to them. I could make use of those powers. They can go to the government and say, can I have those powers? To which the government could either go, oh yeah, we see your plan for that. Great, here you go. Or they could say, no, but if you jump these hurdles, you meet these conditions, then we will. That will be the legal position. There's going to be an inbuilt assumption that where decisions are already made away from Westminster in some part of the UK, there is no reason why those same decisions couldn't be made locally all over the UK. Now, a key part of economic policy making is making sure local workers have the skills needed. Adult education is going to be devolved to the Metro mayors. Another bonus of Labour winning 10 of the 11 contests is that therefore most of those mayors are quite keen on the idea of adult education and will be fully invested in using it to drive economic growth in their region. Same applies to employment supports. Employment support schemes are not going to be coming centrally from the Department for Work and Pensions. They're going to be adapted locally by regional authorities to take account of their own circumstances. And there are several other forms of this devolution as well, but there are two key advantages for me. First, it allows different parts of the country to do things differently according to their own circumstances, their own strengths, their own needs. One size does not fit all. Second, because you'll have some common problems, but each region will decide their own solutions, you can have several solutions to the same problem applied. It allows you to look at which ones works better than others, and you can support a sort of collaborative approach between different regions to take on best practice. Oh, the way they did things worked really well, or maybe we should change ours to do that. Again, this will initially be way easier with the Tories largely out the picture. As they start to re-emerge, we may get more party political posturing, but we should be free of that for a few years. You know, these plans for devolution are sorely needed, but the fact it will mostly be progressive non-conservatives delivering them means that the plans should get through their infancy years more easily than might otherwise have been the case. This weekend's results they're not just good because they're driving momentum away from a Conservative government after 14 years. There's a very practical benefit as well. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.